Twin Atlantic, Meltdown, Let's Go. Asleep is ironic because this is probably one of the better tracks on the record. It feels livelier, it definitely has the energy, some punchy choruses, great verses. It definitely hooked me in, and I can say that. Stuck in a Car with You did the same thing as well, but not quite as good as Asleep. Not as lively either, but the song still brings in that kind of sound of Twin Atlantic I like to see them explore on this record, and they do a good job of it. It's fun. I think lyrically it's better, but minus that, it's definitely the weaker track. And World Class Entertainment is weaker than the first two. It's fine. I don't think it's a crazy good track, but it's one that I put on my playlist because it definitely is a grow of a track. It's because it's got some decent ideas that makes me want to kind of go back to it every now and then, but it doesn't quite hook me as the first two did. And I can say Sorry isn't my favourite on this record. Probably one of my least favourites. I think for when it comes to the more softer, poppier, slower tracks, Sorry just doesn't really cut it for me. This one really kind of breaks the streak of consistency, or I wouldn't even say it's much consistent anyway. Sleep's good, Stuck in a Car is a bit worse, and then World Class Entertainment's a bit worse, and then Sorry is just worse. It feels like the album is already going in decline at that point, but Sorry just kind of felt a bit lackluster for what it's going for. I didn't really feel connected to the emotional aspect to it, and I just found this one to just kind of be there. It's kind of forgettable, to be honest. Harder luckily brings back the mood and is probably one of the better tracks on the record. I like this one, just some classic Twin Atlantic. You got the more of the alternative rock with some decently lively moments, but you kind of get what you expected here. Get Out follows decently as well, but I'm not really big on it, kind of like World Class Entertainment. To me, not saying their songs are similar, but I feel like the form is kind of getting too repetitive here, where it's just, poppy, alternative rock. I guess that's it, yeah, it just kind of has that. I mean, it's obviously a genre it follows, but to me, I just feel like the sound is just too repetitive. The guitars, the drums, it just feels like there's a formula that, well, it's fine to work through a formula. They don't really do much to make this song really stand out. That's all I'm saying. And I just think Get Out's the most decent track I could think of on this record. Meltdown, I'm actually quite surprised with this being the title track. I thought this would be a lot better, but I actually didn't really care much for this one. It's a poppier track. It didn't really do much to reel me in. I kind of felt like Get Out was pushing me away after Harder just reeled me back in. So we're kind of reeling out, and I couldn't miss you much more. I could be honest, I couldn't miss this track any more than I could. This is probably one of the most least memorable tracks on the record. There wasn't really much to it that really felt refreshing for the band, and while we've had some good stuff on Great Divide and Free, I don't think we're really getting much of that on this record, especially with tracks like Couldn't Miss You Much More. I just didn't feel like this really has the strength to carry the flame that Twin Atlantic had when it comes to some of their more iconic tracks. Luckily, Lift lifts us back into better territory. It's a fun song. I like this one again, probably one of my favourites. Full follows it with a decent force. It's a good track, one that I think I can go back into and have a decent amount of enjoyment. The chorus is quite cool. I do like the verses on this actually, so probably one of the better tracks. And then we have an acoustic ballad, Snow in Texas, which is weird because I feel like when it comes to the slower, more poppier tracks, this one's definitely a lot better. I definitely think this one has a lot more of a kick that works, but I couldn't really get into it. I just found this one to kind of be a bit lackluster. I mean, the album is not the most lively, not the most incredible, but I feel like because we've had such an up-down situation with a lot of it just being kind of below average stuff, I don't think Snow in Texas really makes any difference to the overall point of the record that I listened here. Twin Atlantic, there's definitely something with this record I'm not huge on. The fact that I think, if I'm correct, the band said that no wonder this was an easy record to make. I can tell it just feels too repetitive in its sound, in its structure, in its ideas. I mean, there's definitely different narratives of the story and lyrics in each track, but it doesn't really feel sonically refreshing for them. There's some decent ideas they bring in, and as a matter of fact, there's some good stuff here and there, some punchy choruses every once in a while, but I don't think that really counts for the whole record. The fact that we kind of decline already, hit a sort of peak, and then dip more, get up a bit to then dip more. It just feels like there's some spikes in this record that makes it a bit more worth the listen. So at least if you want to go through this album and kind of get the better tracks, it's scattered, so it's not the end of the world of a listen. It's not like all the good songs are at the start and then you kind of have the shit stuff towards the end. But to me, there's nothing really bad, nothing I think is downright just unlistenable, but it's not really an album I think has much gold in it. Meltdown just kind of feels like an album that exists for the sake of existing, and it's fine. I think fine is the perfect way to describe this record. It's a 2.5 out of 5 for me. Hope you all enjoy. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next video.